Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 10th of August, 2023, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with this article that has appeared in The Intercept, apparently talking about communication between the US and Pakistan. Again, holds on the same narrative that has been perpetrated by the head of a political party. The fact remains that the whole basis of it has yet to be proven or has not been proven to date. Even the Intercept itself says that there is no proof that there is any such communication present. There has been no proof that has been given by anybody as far as that is considered. This said, the whole content of the article, if one looks through it, is extremely biased and extremely one-sided. Is there a deliberate motive behind this? We'll be talking about more aspects regarding the timing, the publication, and the motive behind the article in The Intercept. Our second article, second segment rather, pertains to Narendra Modi and a statement that has emanated from our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab, who referring to what has been happening since the 5th of August 2019, said that after becoming the butcher of Gujarat, now Narendra Modi is all set to become the slaughterman of the disputed territory that is Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Looks like it, the way things are going, the way the human rights abuses are going, the way the women's rights, the men's rights, the children's rights are being abused, the way the all kinds of basic necessities are not being given to the people of illegally occupied Kashmir, the way the whole demography of the region is also being changed. A lot of questions mark emanate. And this is going to be the topic of our second story. And our final story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Canada and Saskatoon, where a newcomer drowned, saving others. A very important example of humanity, of how one can sacrifice oneself to save others, and this has been proven by this young man who drowned but saved the lives of many others. Raza Aziz, in fact, is the name of this man who managed to save the life of 3 women but itself perished in the whole bargain. Let's come to our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns this famous article by Intercept. Came at a time when this government was leaving, came at a time when a lot of questions mark are emanating as far as a certain political party are concerned, comes at a time when the country is moving towards economic and political stability. The whole content of the article, ladies and gentlemen, seems to be one-sided. It seems to be targeting a certain organization in our country, those who are the defenders of our motherland, and on top of that also harbors the same intention, the same malified intention, the same mindset that has been emanating from a political party in the last few years. We've been joined by Brigadier Retired Babar Awan to talk more about this. Babar Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Sahab, I'd like to understand the whole aspect, the whole article that is based on supposedly this communication based on the then envoy Asad Majid's meeting with the State Department official Donald Lu, which also has been at the center of the false claim by PTI, and of course saying that the US conspired with elements within Pakistan. In your point of view, sir, and of course to highlight in what is the reality, what exactly is this Cipher saga?
Thank you very much for giving me a chance to come speak to you on this very important subject through PTV World. As regard this entire story is concerned, the saga of Cipher is concerned, it's not new to the nation of our nation, to the rest of the world, because since March last year, when first of all this Cipher story surfaced, and it was surfaced by nobody else than the former Prime Minister, head of PTI, Mr. Omar Khan. And if you know, he chose a very unethical, I would say, illogical way of whatever he wanted to say. That was just public meeting. He showed a piece of paper. Nobody knew what's written in the piece of paper, and he just tried to create a narrative. His government changed. It was inspired by the Americans. The communication between our ambassador to Washington at that time, Mr. Asad Majid and Mr. Donald Lu, and he tried to tell a story that it was compiled against him, and that is the reason uh, he was just thrown out of power. Actually, it was not that. We all know he had to go through a democratic process. It's a very much right of the opposition to table a no confidence motion against the sitting government. It happens everywhere in the world. It's not practice in the parliaments. So nothing new actually happened. But he since wanted to create a story just to mislead the people. So that is why he tried to create that narrative. It was also inspired by him, by people around him. And since then, it is continuing in one way or the other. Although by and large, it has been proved through various examples, various evidences that it was all a story. There's no reality behind it. The American government has been denying it. Pakistan straightaway has been denying it. The biggest security policy making forum in our country, that is National Security Committee, on at least three occasions held meetings and just it proved that it was nothing. It was all wrong. It was basically aimed at defaming the country and especially maligning Pakistan Army or security institutions with the purpose to just defame them, with the purpose to target them and further his own narrative, further his own political, I would say, way of dealing with things. And recently, just yesterday, the story which you have mentioned that has now come up. This is a climax of the entire thing which has been happening in our country in the last 16, more than 16 months. Nation needs to understand this. This is negative politics. As a matter of fact, this is no politics. Once you're just trying to play with the national security issues, it can't be allowed. It cannot be allowed anywhere in the world. So to cut it short, I would say this all has been done deliberately with a purpose to defame our security institutions, to defame the state of Pakistan, to just create rift between interstate relations between Pakistan, US, and so on. So all said and done, very condemnable. This is not acceptable, and I'm very sure in uh, days to come, further details will be unearthed, and people will further be knowing to these things that this was all wrong, propagated, and just negativity.
Sir, I'd like to. My next question is based on two aspects that I'd like your point of view on. First of all, do you feel that the timing has a lot to do with the different changes that are happening politically? Now the government is gone. There is going to be very soon an interim government. Then stability that is coming from within the country, whether it is economic, whether it is political as well, and otherwise. And C, do you feel that certain elements in the country want to gain political mileage out of it?
I agree with you. Timing is very important. And that is why earlier I have said that it was not by chance. It has been done deliberately. It was done deliberately last year once the change in government took place through a democratic process and just mislead the people that it was inspired as far as Mr. Imran Khan and his party is concerned. Now, with the passage of time, people came to know about the realities and country had started moving towards prosperity. There has been uh, quite a good progress or as far as the economic front is concerned. There has been an excellent harmony, cooperation between various institutions of the state, and we have hoped that in coming days, once elections are held, the political instability will be over, inshallah. Country will move towards further stability. Now this story has come up. This story has come up again with the purpose to malign the security forces. And again, once there are cases, former Prime Minister, Chairman of PTI has been convicted, and now there are so many cases to follow. It's going to be a long-drawn battle as far as the legal battle is concerned. So maybe seeing this in mind, the elections coming, he and his people around him, uh, most of them maybe living in overseas, they must have thought that now just to create another issue, they have done it yet again. But I'm very sure as it failed earlier, he will not be able to gain any mileage. His earlier narratives, his earlier way of handling the things have been very damaging for him. And this particular aspect is further going to damage his political credentials because it is not politics, as I said earlier. It is a serious matter of national security, which has to be dealt according to the law, according to the law of the land, and I'm sure it will be done.
You know, if you read the article, Brigadier Babar, the fact remains that more than one paragraph are completely dedicated to maligning our armed forces, to creating creating a division within our armed forces, as was also evident in the May 9 attacks, if you remember. The exact same methodology is being used in this article in The Intercept. Do you, in your point of view, what needs to be done now that it is quite evident what the main reasoning or what the determination that the authors of the article or the contents of the article are meant to do within Pakistan?
I think government of Pakistan, especially the armed forces and our security institutions, they have been showing a lot of constraints. Restraint. They have been restraining from taking any hard stand. I would say going against all those people who have been involved in these things with the purpose that let's not make it a political issue and let's politicians deal with it. But since now it has come up again, and that too in US, that too through press, and I'm I'm sorry to say that this time it will be very tough because it has to be. As you know, as most of the people know, that PTI is running a very malicious campaign against the institution security forces, not now, for quite some time, where people sitting in foreign capitals, they are linked with various agencies, anti-state elements, and they are speaking their language. They are targeting the state of Pakistan in the name of democracy, human rights, which is absolutely not acceptable. And in this article also, the author, again, all these people, they have been very closely linked with Imran Khan, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. So I personally feel that this time, since if it is proved for the time being, uh, even the author and the people sitting there in US linked with all these activities, they are not been able to give any proof that this cipher was actually what they are trying to say. But if it happens at some stage, the nation knows, we all know, that cipher and article and documents like these are very officially secret documents. In US already, former US President Donald Trump is facing such like charges, and he's in, I would say, situation is quite tough for him. In Pakistan also, he's a former prime minister, and if you remember, some time back, there were news and quite authentic news that one copy of the cipher was missing, and that copy was basically which was supposed to be a copy of the former prime minister. After that, things just went quiet. But if now it proves that something surfaces in the US or at any other place, and that cipher surfaces with it, so you can well imagine what is going to happen because official secret act is very clear. All those documents, all those things which are not supposed to be shown to anybody other than those people who are under oath. And we all know once a prime minister takes oath of his office, he takes oath to just not only remain loyal to the country, but at the same time, wordings are very clear that anything which comes to him, anything which is shown to him during the course of his official duty, and which is not to be communicable, not to be shown, not to be, I would say, shared with people who are not supposed to do that, then if something like that happens, the consequences. I would very strongly say and recommend also that this thing should be thoroughly, properly investigated, and we should finish it once for all. And all those people who are responsible in this campaign, who are responsible for doing everything, all this negativity, negative campaign about the country, about armed forces, must be taken must be dealt in accordance with the law, and all those proven guilty must be shown, must be given exemplary punishment as a lesson for others.
All right, speaking of this famous cipher, that apparently disappeared, one copy of which was with the former Prime Minister, the PTI chief in November 2022 took back his statement about the US involvement, said he no longer blamed the US administration for his removal from power. Do you feel that this whole continuation of with the article that comes with a completely similar mindset as to what the PTI has been propagating through its social media handles and otherwise, also there's something that has been said time and again by the former Prime Minister when he was addressing his congregations, this narrative about the so-called cipher, do you feel there is a lot of uncertainty, should I say, or no proper reasoning behind how to take forward the whole issue? It comes back, he says it's not there, then it apparently is there, then there is a text, there is no text. What should people believe in, what should people not believe in, and say, and all of those who were behind it, including the former Prime Minister, shouldn't they be questioned again as to the whole issue, this whole article that has resurfaced at a very crucial juncture?
Actually, if you see this entire issue of Cipher, PTA chief and his close members, they've been using issue from time to time just to further their narrative, their negative politics. And it's very easy for them. It's very easy for Mr. Imran Khan to say a thing today and tomorrow he would come back and he would just take a U-turn and he would say that it was just a politics, it was just a hearsay, it was just a lighter side of the thing, and he was never serious about it. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen with people who have been occupying, who have been holding important, highest public offices in the country. Because uh, once you are a prime minister, once you are holding that important office for the rest of your life, you are you are supposed to live within certain, I would say, confines of law. There are certain things which you can never say in your life whether you are no more holding that. So PTA people, you're right, for last 16, 17 months, they've been they've made a joke of it. They've been making false stories. One day, one story, second day, another story, third day, yet another story, and people have been believing it. But let me clear it. Those people have been believing it who are the cult followers, blind followers of Imran Khan. For them, national security, these things are irrelevant. So they've been actually believing it. All those people, the fence sitters, one day they might be having some doubts, but after some time, once the things would take another turn. So most of the nation is now very clear as far as this cipher is concerned, not only about the cipher, about the entire style of PTA politics, which is actually, a serious attitude, aligning people, character assassination of your opponents, and no matter come what may, whether it's your national institutions, your uh, country itself, your foreign relations, uh, actually everybody knows what actually happened with our relations with the US, with our friendly brotherly countries. It has taken more than a year now to actually bring those relations back on track. So all said and done, very unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened, but since now it has happened, unless it's taken seriously, they are not going to stop. Let me be very, very clear. They are not going to be stopped. Their track record is very clear about this thing, that they will again use it. They will use it in another term. They will use it in other context. So as I've said earlier, it has taken serious. I'm sure it will be taken serious now,
All right.
because in last but not the least, it's a serious, serious matter
All
of
right.
national security.
Brigadier sir, one last question. I want a very short answer to it. We know how the relationship between US and Pakistan was jeopardized because of this whole Cipher issue when it emanated during the last government's tenure, and also when the government came in, this current coalition government that is now ended its tenure came into power. Do you feel with this article by The Intercept? And of course, I'd like to also refer to what the US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said, that allegations that the US has interfered in internal decisions about the leadership of Pakistan are false. Do you feel that the US understands that there are certain elements in Pakistan that are hell-bent on straining the relations between the US and Pakistan? And do you feel that the relationship between both the countries has gone now on the right tangent, despite articles such as those appearing in The Intercept?
I think the US is very clear. Mr. Miller, I was just hearing a statement, actually the statement by the government of the United States. They are very clear about it, and they outright again denied that any such involvement, the US government or the Pakistan's government or anybody as far as between holding important positions is concerned. So US is clear. Government of Pakistan is very clear. Pakistan's security institutions are very clear. So this particular article or anything like that, maybe in future, is now not going to damage a US-Pakistan relation. Yes, it is definitely going to damage Imran Khan and his style of politics, because this is not going to work now. It's high time, and I think he has enough. And now these things will not be tolerated. And if he thinks that he can just buffoon people by doing this, or he can just bluff international community, this is not done. I think this side is.
All right. Thank you so very much, Brigadier Babar Awan Sahab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this very important issue. This article that has appeared in The Intercept that has a similar philosophy or content that has been perpetrated by a political party in the past as well, and reminds us a lot about what happened on the 9th of May because of the tarnishing of the image of our defenders of the state. Let's begin with our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns Narendra Modi. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, in a recent statement, lashed out at Narendra Modi. Of course, he was referring to what has happened post 5th of August 2019, and he said that after becoming the butcher of Gujarat, now Narendra Modi is now going towards becoming the slaughter man of the disputed territory. He was referring to the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir issue. More in the following report.
India's rising tide of Hindu nationalism is an affront to democratic ideals and civil liberties. The continued targeted attacks against religious communities, dehumanizing rhetoric, including open calls for genocide against Muslims, is commonplace in BJP's India. Attacks on members of religious minority communities took place in multiple states of India throughout 2022, the U.S. State Department said in its annual report on religious freedom. The incidents of cow vigilantism against non-Hindus based on allegations of cow slaughter or trade in beef, and assault on Muslim men who were alleged to have married Hindu women to convert them, reflect the systematic disruption of Indian democracy. The grave human rights violations, including killings, extrajudicial executions, arbitrary arrests, torture, and destruction and snatching of property, witnessed a surge to an alarming proportion of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir after the Narendra Modi's illegal move of repealing the special status of the territory on the 5th of August 2019. In the wake of democratic backslide in India, Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari doubled down on its criticism against Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Exposing the cruel face of Hindutva Indian leadership, Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari emphasized that Narendra Modi is neither Atal Bihari Vajpayee nor Manmohan Singh, as he was the butcher of Gujarat and would become the butcher of Kashmir. Pakistan always advocated for a peaceful neighborhood, but Indian belligerence is jeopardizing regional peace.
Senior journalist Amir Hussain joins us online. Amir, thank you very much to have joined us. Amir, you must have read, heard and watched the statement by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari concerning Narendra Modi. A lot of facts are based on what is happening in India, in Indian legally occupied Jammu and Kashmir since the last few years. In your point of view, what are the contours of our India policy putting into place or looking at this statement by Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari?
Well, I think that this is a long history of atrocities in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. 500,000 strong military is deployed to quell the anti-Indian sentiments in the occupied territory. I think uh, recently with intensified uh, diplomatic onslaught from BJP under Modi regime, the atrocities have been increased, intensified, and there is an international commitment from both sides, India and Pakistan, on Kashmir dispute. There are UN resolutions which have been violated. So it is a clear violation of international diplomacy, international law, United Nations resolutions. In this scenario, Pakistan has always, been trying to, find a way out to settle all our outstanding issues with India, including the dispute of Jammu and Kashmir. But what happened in 2019, Indians just revoked the special status provided to people of Jammu and Kashmir under the UN resolutions without, consulting international community, without consulting Pakistan, without consulting the people of Jammu and Kashmir themselves. So I think the violence has been increased over the years, and Pakistan has a clear stance that let us sit down and try to resolve this issue under the larger umbrella provided by the United Nations resolutions and the similar agreement and all other bilateral treaties between India and Pakistan. I think this is a principal stance, and we have to understand that as soon as India accepts the reality of its occupation on Kashmir, the things will start to improve. So I think Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari was right when he said that we cannot establish peace under Modi. We did try under Vajpayee, under Manmohan Singh, and other Indian premiers, and there was remarkable progress. Now the things have gone back to zero one, square one, because Modi, the whole politics of Modi is based on xenophobia and Islamophobia, which will actually usher in, has already ushered in a reign of terror in not only in occupied Kashmir but also other parts of India where Muslim majority lives. So I think this is a very grim situation, and Pakistan has to look into different options to engage international community to find support against this Modi's onslaught on Muslims in general and people of Jammu and Kashmir in particular.
All right. Now, Amir, if you remember well, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari last year had called Mr. Narendra Modi the butcher of Gujarat on the sidelines of a UN session, and that had created a huge furor at that time as well. Now comes this statement, but of course the whole context of the statement is based on realities. What is happening in India right now, whether it be in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, whether it be in Haryana, whether it be in Manipur, whether it be in other parts of the country, is the BJP or the BJP-led government turning India into a Hindutva slaughterhouse?
Yeah, the Hindutva philosophy under the RSS, the Modi is also a member of RSS. So the idea of Hindutva, the Akhand Bharat, the India of the Hindus, has been the central philosophy behind this Modi fascism. I think there are at least 36 separatist movements in India, across India. So the way Modi is handling the Indian politics, or his party is handling Indian politics, is to create a majoritarian dictatorship through Hindu majority. And I think this notion of Hindutva is the idea to eliminate any other other community in India. India, by its virtue, is a pluralistic and a diverse society. But if you want to establish a supremacist ideology under Hindutva, then you have to say goodbye to democracy. So it is also a shame to call India as the largest democracy, because it doesn't reflect its democratic spirit and value. It doesn't reflect even its constitutional provisions, which provide for a secular democracy. And I think this time the Indian leadership, the Indian central authoritarian leadership, is fundamentally based on a Hitler type, Nazi type fascist movement, which believe in genocide, which believes in not only mutilating Muslims but also the Christians and other minorities who are facing a lot of problems in India. I think this is happening, and it will, if it continue to happen, India may disintegrate, because you cannot, forcefully, continue to forcefully, keep people without leaving them the space and leaving them the room for mutual peaceful coexistence, which is the beauty of democracy. I think that is ultimately going to pay a huge price for the people of India and for the stability of the region as well.
All right, Amir, in the United Nations, there are various resolutions on the issue of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The United Nations Deputy Spokesperson for Farhan Haq also has reiterated United Nations concerns over the deteriorating human rights situation in the Indian held valley. Do you feel the United Nations can press India to revert back its decisions of the 5th of August 2019, or revert back all of its policies regarding this ethnic cleansing or the human rights abuses?
I think the role of the United Nations has not been very instrumental to stop India from what India is doing. These resolutions are under Chapter 6 of the United Nations, which are non-obligatory. It was in good intention that this international dispute was taken to United Nations in 1947, and the idea was to invite the United Nations to mediate the peace between India and Pakistan, and to help resolve the dispute of Jammu and Kashmir, which was illegally occupied by India. But India has always been refraining from coming to the table, and also allowing the UN and other observers in the occupied territory. You have seen the United Nations, human rights reports and other reports from other international human rights organizations. They are highlighting this gross violation of, human rights, atrocities, rapes, murders in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir, a huge lockdown for a decade now. So I think these are visible signs that international community must focus. It's not only United Nations, but the whole international community has a role to play if there is any sense in the world to respect the freedom of expression and the right of association and the right of self-determination for a territory which was illegally occupied by India. And I think not only United Nations but Pakistan has also been raising this issue in the Conference of Islamic Countries, in other international fora. But I think this is the time that Pakistan and India, and of course, if sense prevails in the region, have to come together for a larger dialogue, because instability in the region will not favor any of us, and we have to understand that these are two nuclear powers, and any political brinkmanship may lead to a catastrophe, a nuclear catastrophe, which we cannot afford, and neither the world can afford all this. I think we have to understand this ground reality that two nuclear powers cannot remain in conflict, in particular when they are neighbors, for a longer period of time. So Indian ambitions to, subjugate the South Asian region will never translate into reality, as India must understand that Pakistan is a living reality, and I think Pakistan is a sovereign state. And we have our own history and our own political system. We have our own resilience in our politics. So I think India, as soon as India accepts the fact that Pakistan is a living reality and we have to negotiate, we have to enter into peace process, then the things will start to change.
But Amir, the intention from the Pakistan side has always been very clear. It wants talks with India on all the issues, including that of India illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir of the 5th of August 2019 and the other issues that are extremely pertinent to Pakistan and the region as well. Whether India comes to the table for that is another question altogether. This said, I'd like to refer to what Genocide Watch said some time back, and also as to what the US Holocaust Museum's early warning project has highlighted as far as India's down slot, should I say, or maybe moving towards genocide or genocide-like situation is concerned, with the number of killings that have been happening across the country, what are the prospects of genocidal violence in India, Amir?
It's already visible from all sides. The Indian people, the poor people of India, are facing this violence. It's not good for minorities, but also for the majority Hindus, because they cannot establish peace without, considering the fact that a diverse society of India needs to bring together all these communities living so that we have a peaceful coexistence for the larger long-term stability and a democratic transition of India. But I think under Modi, I don't see any improvement. From 2014 till today, when Modi is in power, we have seen a consistent, kind of decline in the Indian secular system. It has become a more a fascist Hindutva, state, which will never accept the people who live in India, because everybody who lives in India is a citizen of India. Muslims have never said that they are anti-Indian. They are always there for centuries, for more than 1,000 years now. So how come that a community living for such a long time in India can be excluded from the politics, can be excluded from their right to live peacefully in a country? And I think as long as RSS ideology prevails in India, India is not going to be changed. India is not absolutely will not be changed under at least Modi regime. And I think if sense prevails and the Indian politics takes a turn for the better, that is the beginning. That would be the beginning of a new India. Otherwise, I don't see. I'm very pessimistic about the way things are being handled in current India.
Do you feel countries like the US, like the European Union, will highlight the human rights issue with India? If you remember well, when Narendra Modi had gone to the United States some time back, around 70 senators and representatives of the House of Representatives, members of the House of Representatives had sent a signed letter to Biden urging him to highlight the human rights issues in India during his talks with Narendra Modi. Do you feel that there are elements in the US that are concerned about the way this human rights bomb is ticking in India?
Yeah, of course, there are huge concerns, not only by the certain quarters in the United Nations, in the United States, but also a huge majority of Indian diaspora in different countries, and the people who want to seek peace within India. The peace movements in India are also showing their concerns that if India has to, prosper, has to grow as a nation, as a nation with multilateral, issues surrounded by, this separatist movement and this anti-people policies of Modi, and the Indian corporate, which is actually supporting the Modi regime. The Indian, the religious, the temple lords who are, using their gold to strengthen Modi ideology. I think that economic and political interest, if we are able to, understand and identify these two things, and the people of India, it is now the onus rests with the people of India, the pro-democratic people who continue to raise voice against the Modi regime. They must come forward and they have to, strengthen their support within the people and rank and file across the country. And I think that will be the only way to stop Modi from further, onslaught and becoming more, atrocious leader ever seen by India in its 75 years of history.
All right, Amir, when you look at India, when you look at statements, whether they are emanated from BJP or other factions, do you feel there is a certain state-sponsored demonization of Muslims going on?
Yeah, absolutely. The demonization is the central theme. The Islamophobia is a central theme. The xenophobic ideology is central, because these are the principles which were deployed by Hitler when he did ethnic cleansing, when he started to run a smearing campaign against the Jews and others. And I think the similar patterns we can see in India. So the impact of this authoritarian rule in India will have spillover impact for the whole region. Now we can see that there is a general pessimism in South Asia that we cannot come together to bring stability for the region unless India mends its ways not only with Pakistan but also with Nepal. Nepal has a lot of reservations on Indian, expansionist ideology. The Bangladesh has a lot of reservations now, and the Sri Lanka has seen a lot of interference. So I think the whole regional countries, the whole SARC region, feels this kind of expansionism that is coming from current Indian leadership. I think the demonization is one of the fundamental political tricks to get popular legitimacy, and because Modi is a populist leader and he would use all the biases and the prejudices that have been inculcated over a decade of his rule to perpetuate his fascist regime in India. This demonization is here to stay unless people realize and they rise against Modi. I think there may be some move for vote of no confidence in India, but I think we have to wait whether it will be translated
And of course,
into reality.
we all know how Rahul Gandhi has also openly, lashed out at Narendra Modi as well. So there is a certain realization of what the BJP-led government is doing to different minorities, whether it be the Dalits, whether it be the Muslims or the Sikhs or the Christians. I mean, the list goes on and on. I don't know where and how this list will end, and how this human rights abuse that has been going on and the denial of rights to people in India, in an illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, in fact, all across India, how that will be solved. That is a huge question mark that only time will tell us where all of this is going to lead. Thank you so much, Amir Hussain, to have joined us. Senior journalist Amir Hussain talking to us about the statement by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari regarding Narendra Modi as being going towards becoming the butcher of the Indian Hellway. Let's come to our last story, ladies and gentlemen, and that comes all the way from Canada, and it has a Pakistani element to it. Why? Because Raza Aziz, 35 years of age, who had recently moved to Canada from Peshawar in Pakistan, was a newcomer in Saskatoon that is present in Canada. He drowned while trying to save 3 other women. This is on the one hand a very humane story, but on the other hand a very tragic one as well. For this young man who went all the way to Canada, immigrated there and was starting his life, met with his fate while trying to rescue 3 women who were stranded in the lake, and their paddlers were tangled in weeds. This also shows that the humanity still prevails in one way or other, although the end was very tragic in this case with the demise of Mr. Raza Aziz. But the fact that without a single thought Mr. Raza Aziz went and tried to help these 3 women is a testament in itself as to the whole ideology or the whole philosophy of helping others that is enshrined in our religion, and that is also enshrined in us Pakistanis. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to US and Pakistan. Till then, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.